For the defendant, he was in love with Gypsy Blanchard, Claudine's daughter. And as he stood there, the only thing that stood between him being with Gypsy was Claudine.
Prosecutors tell a jury the man who killed Gypsy Blanchard's mother had plenty of time to think it over. Opening statements began this morning in the trial of Nicholas Godejohn. His attorneys say autism kept their client from acting rationally. Good evening, Ann. Thanks for joining us. I'm Heather Lewis.
Good to have you along at 5. I'm David Oliver. This morning, the jury heard opening statements from the state and defense. But before that, motions were filed by the prosecution.
Our Bria Douglas is live at the Greene County Courthouse to tell us what one of those motions was. Bria.
David and Heather, Prosecutor Dan Patterson wanted testimony and evidence of sexual misconduct to be presented before the jury as a way of showing that Nicholas Godejohn was able to deliberate before his actions. And it's testimony that Judge David Jones will allow during the trial. Godejohn walked into court around 9:15 this morning wearing a white button-up and black slacks before taking his seat next to his public defenders. Assistant Prosecutor Nate Chapman's opening statement to the jury was that Godejohn's motive for murdering Dee Dee Blanchard, whose legal name is Claudine, was so that he could be in a romantic relationship with her daughter Gypsy Blanchard without her interfering. Chapman says it was Gypsy's idea for Godejohn to kill her mother after a failed attempt to get Dee Dee to like him. Chapman says on June 10th, 2015, Godejohn went into Dee Dee's room while she was sleeping and stabbed her 17 times in the back, then asked for Gypsy to clean up the blood naked. Afterwards, he says the two had sex. Chapman argues that Godejohn had plenty of chances and time to change his mind before killing Dee Dee.
It was the defendant's deliberation that led to him standing outside of Claudine's bedroom door with gloves on, dressed in black, holding a knife, and thinking the bitch is dead. And the evidence will show that after that deliberation on June 10th of 2015, he entered that bedroom and stabbed Claudine Blanchard to death.
You'll hear some evidence that Nick was autistic and perhaps he was unable to form the necessary intent to commit murder in the first degree. When everything's said and done, I ask that you find Nick not guilty of murder in the first degree and consider other means of homicide.
And a forensic investigator testified that Dee Dee Blanchard was dead for at least 36 hours before her body was discovered. And shortly before I left the courtroom, the jury was watching Godejohn's taped confession after he was arrested. And in that confession, he tells how he killed Dee Dee because Gypsy asked him to, and he says that he worshipped her. And as for why he chose stabbing as the method for murder, he says that he thought stabbing would be a quick death for her because she would bleed out quickly.